This is November the 4th, 1977. We are at Wewoka in the Methodist Church, where Mrs. Margaret Jane Norman has arranged interviews with several of the old-timers of the Wewoka area. Presently, I am interviewing Mr. William G. Davis. That's spelled D-A-V-I-S. Mr. Davis is an old-timer of this territory. He was back in Indian Territory days. And I'm going to let him tell you some of the interesting things that he did, both here and when he was in Hollywood, as helping out in the motion picture industry. Evidently, he's had many varied experiences. I'm interviewing for the Oklahoma Historical Society and the Living Legends Project. This is Mary B. Roberts interviewing. And now I'm going to ask Mr. Davis if he'll give us the names of his parents, spelling the name of your father and of your mother, maiden name.
My father was named Jess Edwin Davis, J-E-S-S-E-E-D-W-I-N, Edwin, D-A-V-I-S, Davis. And my mother's maiden name was Ella Knight.
K-N-I-G-H-T.
K-N-I-G-H-T, Knight. And we was all raised up in the north end of the county.
How many in the family?
There was 4 boys and 1 girl. There's 5 boys, but 1 boy died in infancy. And there's 4 of us grew up in manhood, and my sister died in 1926.
I believe you had Creek Indian heritage.
Yes, ma'am. My mother's a Creek Indian. My dad was a Seminole. So my mother was a 3/4 Creek, and I don't know what the rest were. I think she must have been Cherokee. You never did know the rest. I was enrolled on a Creek roll. You have to go on your mother's side when you were enrolled at that time. And they didn't enroll me they didn't give me any Seminole blood. I was just enrolled as a Creek Indian. So Seminoles get any money, I can't get any. And let's see, I was born in 1900. That's been 77 years ago. So, but I was raised mostly in the north end of the county. And at that time, Arbica Indian Territory.
Oh.
And that is back in the early days. And I didn't know much about Wewoka because there were no roads down this part of the country. And I didn't get down here very often. But my grandmother, Alice B. Davis, who was a chief of the Seminoles at one time.
Oh, were you?
And she was my grandmother.
She was the only woman.
Chief. The only woman chief was ever appointed at that time. Yes, ma'am.
Tell us about her. Do you remember?
Yes. Well, no. I just remember when she was chief. I think it was back in 23 when she was appointed by President Hoover, I believe it was. And she was chief among the Seminoles for a long while because at that time the Indians, very many Indians knew about the tribal affairs, so that's the reason the president appointed her to take care of the Seminole Indians. She went back and forth to Florida.
Was she well accepted by the tribe?
Yes. They liked her real well. She went to Florida several times trying to get them to give in to the government, but she didn't make much progress on that.
They didn't migrate right away then.
No, ma'am, they didn't. And I started, so she had, nearly all her children were born up in Arbica Indian Territory. She had 6 girls and 4 boys. And I was born there. And back in before the turn of the century, she built a big trading post there in Arbica. It was the only store in that country at that time.
Please spell that name.
A-R-B-E-K-A, Arbica Indian Territory.
We don't have today, you know.
Indian Territory. And the Pony Express used to run through there from Muskogee to somewhere west, I think the Shawnee, where I don't know. But anyhow, I was born.
You would remember that.
I remember that. I remember the man's name even. It's on there.
Oh.
His name, the guy's name is Red Laird.
Yeah.
He rode the Pony Express through there. He's come through there about once a week.
Did he exchange did he exchange the horses here, or was there?
Yes,
stopping place?
sometimes he exchanged horses there and then go on.
How many days was that trip?
I don't know how many days it took from Muskogee to. That's where he
Well, that'd
started.
be part of that. That'd be part of it we'd know about.
Yeah, yeah.
Do you
Then-
have any recollection of how the Pony Express
Originated.
originated? Yes.
No, I don't have recollection of that part. Oh, that is going on.
They carried the mail,
Yes, ma'am.
and the postage then was paid by the one who received the letter, wasn't it?
I think it was. He like it was that way. Yes. And my grandmother was a postmistress at that place too. They had a post office there,
She was.
and she ran a big grocery store there, a mercantile store. Sold everything from
So
plows and
she was chief of the
Seminole Indians.
Seminoles.
No.
She ran a grocery store. She
Yeah.
was postmistress.
That was before she was appointed chief.
And she had 10 children.
That's right.
Oh my.
Six boys and 4 girls.
That was fast. Wait just a minute. Let's cut this out.
How far did we get about the?
We were talking about your grandmother.
Yeah.
I just summed up some of that. Now your
apparently.
mother,
My mother?
yes,
Well, I don't know when she was born, but let's see. She was a knight.
K-N-I-G-H-T
Oh, yes, ma'am.
was the name you gave.
She was a daughter of Lucindy Cox, full-blood Creek Indian. She had a bunch of children too. Both of my grandmothers had ranches up in the north end of the county, and they both had a lot of cattle. And I used to herd cattle for both of my grandmothers at that time.
Was that an open range?
Yeah, open range. There wasn't no fences them days.
Wonderful.
And I used to ride a horseback when I was 5, 6 years old, bareback, herding cattle all over the country, up in that part of the country. It's just wild up in that part of the country at that time. And that's right after the turn of the century. And, there wasn't no roads or fences anywhere in them days.
What types of housing did they use then?
Well, we had a log house.
A log house.
My grandma Lena, I called her, that's my mother's mother, had a log house. But Mrs. Davis had a great big 2-story frame home there at Arbica Indian Territory.
Mm-hmm.
That's where most of her children were born. I was born there.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, all my brothers were born there too.
The Seminoles were not given into so much of the teepees as they were to actually building them.
They never had any teepees. The Seminole didn't.
The Seminoles did.
No.
Good.
That I know of. Maybe Mr. Walker might know. They didn't have
No.
teepees. No.
All right, so you people were your culture had advanced, that you were already.
That's why they call them the 5 civilized tribes, I guess.
Yes.
Creeks, Seminoles, Cherokees, Chickasaw, and Choctaws.
They were already
advanced,
into
yes.
the type of housing that
Yes,
is
ma'am.
used today. That's interesting. Did you have any schooling, any formal schooling?
Yes, I went
when you
through.
were a child?
I went through grammar school, high school, 2 years business. Till school, I didn't go to college.
What were the schools like
High
then?
school, oh, well,
Tell us something about it.
they were very strict about Indians talking Indian. They're trying to keep them from talking Indian, try to learn English language. A lot of these Indian schools are very strict on that, about Indians talking their language. We used to have to hide out somewhere and talk. I couldn't hardly speak English when I first went to school because I grew up talking Indian. My grandmother, Lena, my mother's mother, raised me practically, you see.
And now they're trying to
Teach them how to talk Indian.
teach the Indian language again.
That's right.
Well, I hope they get that. I hope they get the younger people interested in that and saving that Indian language and Indian culture.
Yeah, it'd be nice because I hate to see this
There's
Indian
a
language.
project on that now. Government
Yes,
project.
I understand that they have.
I see here that you went to the Haskell Indian Institute.
Yes, ma'am. Lawrence, Kansas.
in Lawrence, Kansas.
Yes.
Was that for Indians?
Yes,
Totally.
Indians only.
Indians only. How did you like that school?
It was nice. I learned a lot there. That's the only school I went to. I went to different schools around here, but I was a tiny tot, and I went to Meckasucky, which is a boys' school here in the Seminole country. And they had a girls' school down south they called Amahaka. That was a girls' school. They had different schools for, boys and girls.
Yeah.
But I went to Meckasucky. I think I stayed there about 6 months, didn't learn nothing, so they took me out of there. Couldn't learn nothing. I was too young. And I went to Haskell in 1910. Yes, ma'am. That's when they admitted the 5 civilized tribes into those government schools, and they called them the 5 civilized tribes. The other tribe of Indians resented that very much, and we had fights daily up there at school. 5 civilized tribes among the northern Indians and other tribes wasn't connected with the 5 civilized tribes. They're jealous of us. We talk about fights.
Well, was it really that much different?
Well, it wasn't much different in Indians. I guess they were quite a bit advanced, yes. More than the Indians from the north and the west. They're pretty well advanced, yes. I guess that's why they call them the 5 civilized tribes. There's a lot of history to that, but I don't know it all.
I think. And then you took a business course.
Yes, ma'am. 2 years business.
You were interested in mercantile work or what?
Then or what? No, it is the only thing I could take there. I couldn't afford to go to college. So they gave that there at Haskell too, so I just took 2 years business.
Did you do any kind of work along that line?
Well, you had to go to school half a day at Haskell, and then they taught you a trade, whatever trade you wanted to take. I took up leather work, which I was mostly interested in at that time. And I got to repairing shoes instead of learning how to work with leather, making anything. Shoe shop, they called it. That's where I worked. Then eventually I went to work in a bakery shop. I had charge of the bakery shop there in 1917 where they baked bread. I was a government employee then, and I didn't have sense enough to know that I had a job. But young, and I wanted to come home, so I stayed there about 3 months and came home, for a vacation. For the summer vacations we had. And I didn't keep that job, so they hired a baker from somewhere else. I don't know where he came from.
Tell us something about your athletics. And I noticed you had on your paper the Blue Diamonds. What were they?
Well, that was a basketball team I played on in Kansas City. That was 1921. That was after I left Haskell. I left Haskell in 1920. And went over to Kansas City and was married. And had a basketball team there, so I went and tried out with them and made it. That same year we won a national championship. They didn't have a professional team of them days. It's called AAU, American Athletic Union, or something like that. AAU. It wasn't professional. We didn't get paid for that, but we won a national championship in 21.
What part did you play?
I played guard.
Tell us something about some of your competition with the other teams that you played.
Oh, we played nearly all the colleges around Missouri and Kansas. Didn't play any teams in Oklahoma. Normal school, Warrensburg Normals, I remember, we used to play every year. That year. When I said every year, I used to play basketball at Haskell, and we used to go all over Missouri playing different schools there. That's the reason I said every year. I played basketball at Haskell and played football there and track. Didn't have time to take up baseball because they come at the same time. I think Ike went to school there. Didn't you, Ike, at Haskell? Yeah.
You mentioned your marriage. Tell us something, whom you married and spell her name.
Well, her name was Richenda Merrick, M-E-R-I-C-K. Richenda spelled R-I-C-H-E-N-D-A. Y'all know the history of that name. I can tell you where it came from.
I like it.
Well, my Richend's father went to school at Carlisle Indian School in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. And the superintendent of that school at that time was Colonel Pratt. Yeah. And Eustace was his name, my wife's father. Eustace. He said, Eustace, some of these days you're going to get married. And I want you to name your first daughter Richenda. And that's where that Richenda originated from. And where it came from before Colonel Pratt, I don't know. But there's a lot of Richendas throughout Oklahoma now. There's a girl who works here in the Indian Days. Not that I know of. It's an odd name. It's kind of a pretty name, Richenda. Kind of musical.
Yes, it is. I thought maybe it had an Indian connotation.
No, it's Colonel Pratt. I don't know.
He just liked it.
One of his daughters was named that.
Oh.
One of his daughters named Richenda.
Were you there when Jim Thorpe?
No, ma'am. He's about 10 years. He's about 10, 12 years older than I was, But we was raised within about 25 miles of each other.
Oh.
He was born on the North Canadian River, and so was I. Jim was raised, you've heard of Keokuk Falls? That's in the early days. I can remember that when I was a kid. It's only about 12 miles from Arbica, Indian Territory. And he's raised west of Keokuk Falls about 12 miles. I was raised east of Keokuk Falls about 12 miles. But we didn't know each other. I think that North Canadian River water had something to do with your athletic ability or something.
Yeah. You wouldn't remember Extendine either.
I knew him, but I didn't know him. He came from Carlisle, too. Albert Extendine. He coached at the University of A&M. Called it A&M at that time, didn't they? Stillwater?
Yes.
Agricultural Mechanical College. 1 year.
Did you have a special friendship with Jim Thorpe?
Yes, I know him. I know him very well. He's in California when I was out there. When I was working the pictures out there, while he's out there, and he's in business out there. And I used to go out and visit him quite often. We got great friends together, and we used to talk about how close together, raised almost the same area and didn't know each other.
Right on the North Canadian.
That's right.
Tell us something about Jim in California, if you remember.
Well, he had a beer tavern, let's put it that way. Yes, and I didn't want to say that, but that's the only business I knew that he was in. And he had a good trade. He had a lot of Indians come there and trade with him. I didn't drink, and I sat there and talk to him. We sat there and reminisce old times. I got to play football.
This was after his football
career. Oh yes, that was way after his athletic career.
After the Olympics.
After the Olympics, yes, ma'am.
He won so many honors, you know.
Oh yeah, all of them.
Yeah, one of the greatest athletes we've ever had.
Well, when he went to school at Carlisle, Pop Warner was his coach, and they had a track team up there, and they'd go to different colleges to have a track meet. And Pop Warner come there with two men there, and they said, "Where's your team at?" I said, "Here they are." Jim Thorpe done everything. He took all the events, and this other guy ran the distance. They used to have long distance running in them days. And he ran, and that was his track team. Two men.
Jim was the one that pulled many a game out of the fire.
That's right.
But he played best when the game was the tightest.
Mm-hmm. That's when I guess, fought the hardest, I guess. He's a great athlete. There'll never be another one like him.
No, I guess not. And Coach Warner seems to have made a tremendous impression on all of the boys that went to Carlisle.
Yeah, Pop Warner.
All of them made it.
Yeah, sure do. He's an Indian's friend. He preferred Indians for football players.
Did you know him?
No, ma'am, I didn't know him.
Just through Jim and
yes, that's right.
Now, are we ready to go to California yet?
Pardon?
Do we go to California next?
Well, yes.
Am I leaving out something?
No, not too much, I don't guess. Told you all about Arbica.
Your two sons were born here or in California?
They were born in Anadarko, Oklahoma.
Anadarko. All right.
When they went to school, both finished the University of Oklahoma. My oldest boy is quite an artist. Since I lost him last January, and some of his pictures are collector's item now.
What was his given name?
Jesse. His name was Jesse Davis, number 2. His name after my father.
He's junior.
No, number 2.
Number 2.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My son, so I called him. He's always proud of that name. He's always proud of his family. Never seen him, but he's proud of him.
That's good. Do you know where some of his pictures are hanging now?
There's some up here at the Philbrook Gallery now.
Are there?
In Tulsa.
And they're signed by the name of.
Just, I think he went by his Indian name. I don't know what that is. Asawoya, something like that. It's a Comanche name. He's a part from my wife's Comanche, and so
How do
he's.
you spell that? We want to recognize the picture.
Asowaya, something like Asawoya.
Asawoya. I may have seen them and not known it.
Yes.
You see.
One of the pictures called Long Snow. One of my other sons has a picture. One of his originals is in Oklahoma City.
Mm-hmm.
It's a beautiful picture.
They're in this museum.
Mm-hmm. I have some.
I'll look for that name.
Yes.
And did you mention here that you had some brothers and sisters?
Yes, ma'am. I have one brother living now. He lives with me. We live together here.
He lives here now?
Yes, ma'am. And the rest are all deceased.
The others are.
Mm-hmm.
And is your sister?
Sister's gone too. Nobody left but just Ross and I.
In California, your work out there, you said, was not that of an actor, but that
a prop maker.
A
prop maker in the studios, yes. Mm-hmm. It's carpenter work, but they call them prop maker in the studios. Mm-hmm. We built all the sets that I have built sets for Going with the Wind, and a whole lot of pictures. Bing Crosby made out there. I worked at Paramount Studios, and I used to see Bing and Bob. And, a lot of those old time, like that singer, what's his name? Dean Martin, Alan Ladd. I met them all and talked to them, shook hands with them. They're great. Well, I mean, they weren't stuck up there. They're just as common as they could be. They come speak to you and come watch you work. And they're wonderful men, all of them. I like them all. That's interesting work. Met a lot of the stars. I saw Clark Gable at the time too, but I never get to speak to him. All we done is build props for the sets. Nearly all the big pictures back between the, say 45 up till 60 something. That's.
Was this Metro Golden Mayer or what was it?
MGM.
MGM.
That's in Culver City. I've worked out there too.
Yeah.
But I don't remember the pictures they made out there because I wasn't too familiar with MGM. I didn't like that studio very well. And I never did work out there. The reason I didn't like them, before I went to work there in 43, I think, or 44. They had a big strike out there. The people that were working there before I went to work there I think they're kind of a communistic type of people. And when we went to work there, they hired a lot of other people from the outside. We had combats every day at the gates. They didn't want to let us in. We had some terrible fights out there. I started working in 43, I think it was, and I quit in 65. Well, nearly 30 years I worked there in the studios. I worked nearly all the studios. It was interesting work. I liked it. I'm retired now.
But your knowledge of Bob Hope and Bing Crosby, were they off-the-stage personalities?
Oh, yes.
They are when they come across the street?
Yes, certainly was. It's just as common as an old shoe, I'd say, an old thing, you know. They stop and speak to you and shake hands with you and joke with you. They're both wonderful, Bing and Bob. And Dean Martin's another one. Alan Ladder's a nice fellow, too, but he's gone now. I met a lot of the stars there.
Do you remember any of the other pictures that you made?
I was trying to think. We made so many of them out there that I just can't remember all of them.
Gone with the Wind.
Yes, I knew. It's still fresh in my mind, as the sets we made. And I worked over at Warner Brothers quite a bit, too.
Well, that was such a tremendous production one.
Yes, it was. Oh, it took a long time to make that picture. It's Gone with the Wind. And Warner Brothers made a lot of pictures over there. I was trying to think of the girl's name that made that picture there. We made a set of stairs there. There's winding steps. And they still use that. When I first went to work in the studios, they used to build sets. Right after they shot the picture, they used to tear them down. Now, it got to where later on, after I was there about 15 years, why, instead of tearing them down, if it was a good set, it took a lot of money to build it, well, they'd preserve it. They'd put them on rollers and put them and store them in a storeroom and use them in different pictures. There's these set of stairs that I'm speaking of, they still use them. I still see these late pictures that they use now that I have built.
Do you remember any of the other sets?
That's what I was trying to think of, but I'm trying to think of this picture that this woman made. Loretta Young was her name. What's that picture? I forget the name of the picture she made. That's where the steps are that I was talking about. Loretta Young.
She made many pictures.
Yes, a lot of them.
Well, what was your impression of her, or did you know her?
I didn't know her. I didn't get meet many of the women, mostly men. They said Clark Gable was a nice guy, but I never get a chance to talk to him. I saw him a lot of times out at Warner Brothers, but never did get to speak to him. The man that I like a lot, he's an Okie, is Jim Garner from Norman. Yeah. He's a nice guy. And Dale Robertson. They're both just common people, just like they're out here in Oklahoma.
Jim Garner's name was Bumgarner.
I knew him. I knew his dad. I knew his dad, Bill Bumgarner. But I didn't know Jim at that time.
They're just related to the Roberts, my family.
Oh, is that right?
By marriage only. Mm-hmm. But the Bumgarners over there were a wonderful family in Cleveland County. They were known for years. I noticed here in your notes that you mentioned the Indians pattern shearing their horses after the way the outlaws.
That's right.
Shod theirs.
What was that? That is when I was a young boy. I didn't see that, but my dad used to tell me that. I was born in Indian Territory, and that the line, the Oklahoma line, is what they called it, was about I guess right there at Keokuk Falls, about 10 miles east of Arabika. That is the Oklahoma line. And Indians weren't allowed over on that side of the line because they sold whiskey over there in Oklahoma, but they didn't sell none in the Indian Territory. So they patterned after the outlaws. They used to shoe their horses, put the shoes on backwards. Instead of going one way, well, they'd go that way, you see, but they'd go the other way because they had the horseshoes on backwards, you see. And that's how they fooled the law.
So following them then...
Be going the opposite direction.
So that was used still?
My dad was telling me, yes. Al Jennings came by there. We had a great big barn there at Arabika, at the big store there. People used to come through there, stay all night there, and Al Jennings come through there one time and stayed all night. That's what during his outlaw days. The well that used to be out at the barn is still there, still up there. Got a stone slabs around it, and it's still there.
Who built that?
I don't know. I had it before I was born, I guess. It's still there.
Somewhere in your generation, in your heritage.
Yeah, somebody.
Did it have a name, or was it known just by that property?
Just Arabika is all.
The work that you have done in Hollywood, when you came back to Oklahoma, did it help you get a job, or?
No, I had retired already.
Oh, you retired out there?
I retired from the studios.
Mm-hmm.
After I worked in it. And I developed, I was in the service, I was in the Navy, and they discharged me out of the Navy because I had arthritis and kept getting worse and worse. And when I got to 65.
What year were you in the Navy?
In 41 to 45, I think it was 40. I was in 3 years. I was right there in Norman. I was working on those air bases there, you know, when they was building them.
Mm-hmm.
And so my wife and I were separated. So the draft board here in Wewoka got after me to come over here and register and go to the Army, you know. They were going to draft me. And since then, I learned that he couldn't have been after me because I was working at a defense plant. Where you work in a defense plant, they can't draft you. But this guy here was on the draft board here at that time, didn't like me, so he said he was going to send the law after me and bring me over and make me join the Army. So I went up to Oklahoma and joined the Navy, and they sent me back down Norman, Naval Air Base, and I was there 3 years.
Did you continue the work you were doing?
No, I worked in the office. I worked as I worked in what they call a master. I was just like a policeman or officer on a base. And I worked for an old chief who'd been in the Navy about 40 years, and he turned the office. Sat over in the corner there, and I didn't do nothing, just sitting there. I made out the watch list, and I didn't put myself on it.
Was there, when you did experiences in the Navy, you never was kicked out?
No, ma'am. I was too old. They wouldn't ship me out. I was too old. I was a sailor, but I was a dry lander. I never saw the sea till I went to California.
What was your designation in the Navy?
I became a boatswain mate, second class. Yes, ma'am.
And you did mostly work in the office?
Yes. It's just like a police station is what it was. I call it the Master's Arms Office. So, something like police.
Stories in the Navy?
No, I guess not. No, I never did get to meet anybody. All this, my boss, he was retired. They just called him back for duty, you know, training these young people.
And what was his name?
Chief Garcia. Garcia. I forgot his first name, but everybody knows Chief Garcia. He's been in the Navy so long, he had stripes all up and down his left arm. Up to his shoulders. Yeah.
I'm going to go back just a little bit here now. I do know something you say about my mother's brother, John S. Brown, who was chief of the Seminoles, and of his brother, Andrew Jackson Brown, who owned the Wewoka Trading Post. Tell us something about this.
Well, Governor Brown, he was known as Governor Brown.
Now, these were your uncles.
That was my grandma Davis, his brothers.
Uh-huh. And she was the one that was the chief.
She was the one who had destroyed Arbika.
Yes.
And these were her brothers, Governor Brown, who was chief of the Seminoles for 30 years, that before Grandma's term. Mm-hmm. And he had a brother named Jackson Brown. They owned this Wewoka Trading Company here in the early days. Wewoka Trading Company, they called it. And at one time, they listed on in or on Dun Bradstreet. Now you got to be $1 million concern to be listed with them. They listed with Dun Bradstreet at that time. That was back in the early days. That's what. No, yeah, it was listed, but I mean, what I mean, not listed. It was listed, but nobody knew. Yeah.
It was rated that way.
Yeah, rated that way.
Was it the inventory of it, or was it the great number of?
I think it's
the amount of business.
The amount of business it gets. See, you had all this Indian. A lot of the old Wewoka people here. Mr. Saran is one. I think Joe Saran is going to be interviewed here today by someone. That is his father. He worked there at Brown Trading Company at that time. Another one of our great Oklahomans was C.R. Anthony at the C.R. Anthony stores. That's where he started to work here, Brown Trading Company. He was a bookkeeper for him. That was back in the early days.
Do you remember him?
Mr. Anthony, yes, I met him. He helped build this museum we have here. I've met him and talked to him. And Governor Brown, Jackson Brown, my grandmother, their father, was a Scotsman, come from Edinburgh, Scotland. He was a doctor. He was appointed by the government to be a doctor among the Seminoles in Florida. And he came through with them during the Trail of Tears. Came from Florida to Oklahoma. And
didn't they come by two different routes?
Yes, two
some
different
by
routes.
Water and some by land.
Yes, he came by land, I think.
By
He came,
land.
and he doctored the Indians all the way through. And let's see, what was I going to say now?
Was that a doctor on the trail? He must have saved many lives.
He did. The Indians along the road got sick, and he saved many lives. And he was a doctor here for a long while. And he's buried down here at Monette, somewhere down there. There's only one big stone about that high buried down there.
Is his name on the stone?
It's got JB on there. That's all there is.
J.B.
Uh-huh.
No, not David.
Nothing. No, his name was Brown.
Brown, I mean.
Yeah.
Yes.
They've been trying to get that stone up here at the museum, but they haven't made any success yet.
Mm-hmm.
That's where it should be, out here at the
I
museum.
reckon.
Mm-hmm.
It should certainly bear the identification
Yes.
of who he was.
Of course, that's been so long ago. I guess they didn't.
The chief
They just threw you in the ground and that at all. I guess them days.
and head the Brown
Yes, that's right.
agency like that. That was really an honor. Andrew Jackson Brown. I'm surprised at that name, Andrew Jackson.
Yeah, that's his name.
I didn't think that he was very popular with the Indian people.
Well, I don't know. Did they consider that Isaac?
He was.
Anything? Huh?
He wasn't very popular.
He wasn't. I didn't know him very well. Andrew Jackson. He said he wasn't very popular.
Well,
I didn't know either one of them.
I wouldn't think that he would be
Yeah, call him Andrew Jackson.
because he ordered their migration. And I wouldn't think that he would be.
Yeah.
And perhaps the name was given in a more or less of a humorous
Probably.
way. But that name attracted me.
Yeah.
Came in on
Reason there was that he was unpopular. That Andrew Jackson was that it was under Jackson that administration when the Indians were moved out here.
That's right.
See, John Brown and A.J. Brown, they were part Indians. They weren't full-blooded.
Have
Were they
Scotch.
Irish or-
Scotch.
were they Irish?
Scotch. Scotch.
Scotch
Mm-hmm.
or Jew?
Dr. Brown was a Scotsman from Edinburgh, Scotland.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
And is he the one now that is buried over here
Yes,
with the
Dr.
stone
Brown.
name J.
Yeah, Dr. Brown.
J.S.? Can you tell us some of the early day memories that you have of this territory?
Not Wewoka. Not Wewoka, because I
You were in
wouldn't.
California then?
No. I was in the early days, you said.
Yes.
I was in the north end of the county.
You were
There
north.
were no roads down here them days.
Yeah.
No, only way down here horseback.
Tell us about that part then.
Well, I just remember one coming down here one time with my mother, horseback. I don't know what we came down here for. I know I must have been about 5 years old, I guess, and I was riding behind her. She was riding a side saddle. We used to have side saddle women them days. And before we left, well, my dad said, Ella, he used to call her Ella, you better take this pistol along, because between here and Wewoka, there's a lot of mean Indians and mean colored people. Drunk Indians and drunk, we call them niggers.
Indian territory.
Yes. So I had one of the little satchels with plastic shiny. And Dad put that pistol in that little bag and we had hanged on the side and went to jumping up and down and scared that horse, and he threw us both off. The horse ran up about 100 yards, just run down there and stood down and looked back, and Mom walked down and got him with the rein and came back, and we came on and work. I don't know what we done after that. I remember falling off the horse and she falling on me.
Runaway.
Yeah. She fell on me. I fell first and she fell on me. And it didn't come to Weehawken much them days, because only got that.
What was the difference in the food then?
Well,
and then later? Did you grow quite a bit of yours, or did you get
yes,
it
they grew a lot of corn, stuff like that. And they had an Indian dish, what they call sofky and a busky. Sofky, S-O-F-K-Y.
S-O-F-K-Y.
Sofky.
Sofky.
Uh-huh.
Sounds good.
Yeah, and then they're made out of corn. And I don't know how it's made. I can know more about that than I would.
I'll ask you.
Then they have what they call a busky. They parch it and grind it up, look like cornmeal. That is a good drink too. You.
Drink.
Mm-hmm.
A busky.
A busky, uh-huh. He can tell you about that.
Fermented?
Huh?
Was it fermented in any way?
No, ma'am. No. No fermentation at all.
Just a drink.
Mm-hmm. Parched.
What's that?
Used cold water and sugar, and add sugar to it.
You mentioned the well on the place. They didn't use the river water or the creek water?
No, she used old buckets. Old buckets you used to draw with. Well, it's still out there. I'd like to take a picture of that sometime. Go out there and take a picture of it. That was
How
built
old
before.
is that well?
Well, it was there before statehood, and it's still there.
It's dug well, isn't it?
Yeah, dug well.
We'd like to have that. We'd like to have a picture of that.
I'd like to get a camera. I don't have a camera. Get somebody to go
there.
there.
Send us one.
I will.
We'd
I'm
like
right
to
where
have
I know the Indians own the
And
land.
tell us the exact location of it
Okay.
if you can.
Yeah. I know the people that lives on there, some Indians. They don't go up and look around anytime I want to, because I was born there, you see.
Mhm.
But that's just a half mile west of where they
But any
live.
of those, are there old fences, or did you have fences then?
No. Didn't have no
Those
fence them days.
Those wouldn't be that old then,
No.
and the house wouldn't be.
No, the house has been gone.
Mhm.
They have a picture of old Arbica somewhere. I think at the museum.
Any of those things that your museum doesn't use, what we'd like to have.
Yeah.
Your museum here is such a good one, so I have an idea they'll want them.
Oh, yeah.
But we'd love to have a picture of them.
Okay.
Oh, well.
I'll go up there and take a picture of that.
Do you think of anything else that
No, I
Peculiar
guess that's
to your-
my knowledge.
lies and times?
No, that's what a horseman in my days when I was 6 years old.
Oh, quite a horseman.
Yeah, ride a horse.
What kind of ponies did you have?
Well, just regular Indian ponies, they call them.
Indian ponies.
Small, I used to put a rope around his mouth. He had no bridle or saddle, or rode bareback.
Slap 'em- did you slap them on the side when you
No,
wanted them to turn, or
No,
how did
you-
they know?
you pull the rein, pull the rope.
Oh, a rope went
Yeah.
through them.
That
Wow.
was your guideline.
Yeah. Like a bridle would be now. I thought you
I
meant
can
the
remember
rope was
when
just a noose.
I called my Indian grandmother, mother's mother. She had about 200-300 head of cattle. Just like you said, they didn't have no fences them days. They roam all over the country. I had a cousin named Pete Lehman, I think I can remember him. We used to go after them. We could hear the bell. We'd go after them, bring them in. And she had a bunch of wild horses. We used to go on after them, bring them in. Riding bareback. Well, we'd bring them in on a dead run.
Were those just a prairie Mustang?
Yes,
They were.
yeah.
Were those the ones that were so many different colors?
Oh, yeah.
What we call paints?
Yeah, paints and browns and blacks and all colors.
How did you tame them?
Oh,
Or did you?
if you wanted to tame one, you had to rope one and ride him in every day. Didn't have much success riding some of them, but that's the only way you could break them by, catching them, because you couldn't train them all because I had so many of them. Some of them stayed wild till they died.
Just never did.
Mm-hmm.
Were those herds, did they live just on the prairie grasses?
Yes, that's all they lived on. Along the river bottom.
Well, they made pretty good cow ponies, didn't they?
They did, some of them.
How did you train them for cow ponies?
Oh, just by using them every day, roping.
How did they learn that quick cut?
Well,
To get a cow out of the herd.
learn that themselves, of course. Actually, you rope, you take a roping horse, chasing the calf while they know how to follow him. They go right with the, say you're going to rope a calf. They learn themselves a lot. Get ones good, well, they're good.
How old were you when you were working with them?
I was about 5, 6 years old when I was a little bareback on it, down no saddle.
Yeah.
Bill, did you tell her about your brother, Gene?
No.
All right, we have a suggestion here about Mr. Davis's brother.
Gene Davis. He's quite a cowhand at one time. He's could have been one of the greatest if he'd hadn't went to the wrong direction. He went to the alcoholic route and he ruined himself.
He was with 101 Ranch at one time.
Yes, he worked 101 Ranch at one time.
He doubled for Tom Mix in a movie.
Yeah,
Tell us about that.
That's about all I remember. He doubled for him.
He doubled for Tom Mix.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he worked out there for a while.
That was interesting. Was he one of the wild riders for
He's
the
quite
101
he's a good
show?
rider. Yes,
Went with them as well as with the ranch work.
and he worked with this colored man that I wouldn't say invented or developed it, or he's one of the first ones that done
Bill Pickett.
Done bulldogging.
Yeah, that's Bill Pickett.
And the way he started out, he bit him by the lip, threw him down with the lips, bit their lip and threw him down. They didn't have no horns. Them days, this day and time, they get the horns and bulldog. But when it first started out, he bit him on the lip. Must have had good teeth.
He grasped their lip or
No, he bite it. Yeah.
bit it.
Yes.
And now his name was Gene
Davis.
Gene Davis, and he was your brother.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Is there anything else now you'd like to?
No, I guess that's about all, Miss. What did you say, Bates? No, Woods, wasn't it?
Mary Roberts.
Yeah, Robert. No, I guess that's about all, Miss Roberts. My
You've
life
had
was
such
so
an interesting life in so many different
ways.
capacities.
Yeah.
Yes, from your very heritage
Yeah.
on through.
I wish I had that life to live over again.
Well,
Or some of it I'd still follow, but some I wouldn't.
I guess we all feel that way.
I'll tell you about my two boys, and prior to that, they both went to the University of Oklahoma.
We'd like to know about that.
And my youngest boy, he's a Phi Beta Kappa. He won the Gold Key, A student. Now he's working for Western Electric in Oklahoma City. He has a good job there.
And his name is
Madison B. Davis.
Madison B. Davis. All right. Where does he live there?
He lives in Norman now.
In Norman.
Just moved there a couple of weeks ago because they built a home out on his wife's place out in western Oklahoma, at Hobart, Oklahoma. They built a home out there, and they were going to move out there as soon as he retired. He's got about 2 years to go. And so they built the house ahead of time. They didn't think they'd build it so soon, but they did. So his wife was staying out there, and my son had an apartment out in Oklahoma City, just walking distance from Western Electric where he works. And her daughter was going to school at Norman University. They was all scattered. So they decided to rent an apartment in Norman, so they all live in Norman now, all together again. So they live at close to where I was stationed at when I was in the Navy, North Base, they called it.
Yeah.
On Robertson Street where they live.
That's still there, isn't it? The old base is used by the university now.
Yes. Yeah, my oldest boy is an artist, and that boy of mine is Phi Beta Kappa. And he must be a good employee because here about a month ago, a little longer than that, the president or whoever he was had him, called him to the office, and he scared him to death. He said, "What have I done? Am I going to get fired or something?" So he went to I don't know what his title was, or whether he's president or one of the higher employees there at Western Electric. And he said, "Madison, we got a surprise for you."
What is it? We want you to go to school and take a refresher course. We're going to send you to Princeton University. So, let him
Princeton.
go. So he's up there about 3 weeks. Princeton University. He just come back here about 2 weeks, 3 weeks ago. I said, what did you learn? He says, nothing. Well, I said, oh yeah.
And he's the one that is now in Norman.
Yes, he's the one who's got the Phi Beta Kappa.
And the artist is the boy that
Passed
you
away.
lost.
Yes.
And what was his Indian name again?
Asawoya.
Asawaya.
I
I remember that.
Asawoya. That's the way. Some of the pictures he's got that on there, and some he got Jess Davis.
Mm-hmm. I want to see that, the long snow. I want to see that.
Where do you live in Oklahoma City? Yeah, he's named after. When I went to school at Haskell, I had a coach there by the name of Madison Bell. And he came from Center College. In the early days, the older people would know Center College. Bo McMillan, one of the great coaches, came from there. And
You knew Bo McMillan? You did?
I didn't know him, no.
Oh.
He was a quarterback for Center College. Madison Bell, my football coach at Haskell, was his teammate.
I see.
That was the year they beat Harvard University. That was back in the
Yeah.
20s.
Yeah.
And Madison Bell was my coach, so I named my youngest boy Madison Bell Davis.
Oh. So that's where we get the Madison B. Davis
That's
then
right,
from Oklahoma City.
That's right.
Well, is there anything else
I guess
you'd like
that's.
to
I
add?
guess that's all.
Later, Coach got in Southern
Yes, SMU, Southern Methodist University.
This will conclude the interview with Mr. Davis. It has been most interesting, Mr. Davis, and thank you so much.
Thank you.
I've enjoyed it tremendously.
So have I. Thank you very
And
kind of us.
I trust that your retirement is as pleasant as it seems to be now.
That's right. I'm very happy.
Thank you.